I want to help you make time for your goals. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to talk all about time management. One of the tips, or one of the things that I talk about a lot when it comes to goals, is that we need to schedule time to accomplish our goals. It's not enough just to make this perfect list of beautiful goals and even take the time to break them all down if we don't make the effort to take those action steps and actually put them in our calendar, put them in our planner, and put them in our schedules. But one of the things I hear a lot is, well, I don't have time. I'm so busy, I have so many things going on, I don't have time to put my action items in my calendar. So today I wanna share with you 5 tips for time management. Things that I have done, really they're just like personal discoveries of time management that have worked for me to help me make time for my goals. Now, secret tip 0 is make those action steps even smaller so that the pockets of time that you're looking for in your calendar to schedule your goals is even smaller. But I'm not gonna go into that today. Today is all about finding those pockets of time in your calendar. So tip number 1 is to shift your mindset. I know you're like screaming at me from the other side of the screen. You're like, really? You just want me to think about having more time and I'm just gonna have more time? That's not what I'm saying. But there are a couple mindsets that I had to overcome in order to find more time in my schedule. The first one is that time is our most valuable resource, and we are never going to get more time. We are never going to be able to make more time, and so we have to protect it with all that we have. And that's just something I have to keep in the back of my mind when somebody asks me to do something or wants me to go to some event that I really don't want to go to, which we'll talk a little bit later about saying no. But just having the mindset that my time is my most precious resource, both for my goals as well as for my happiness, my relationships, everything in my life. It comes down to how much time do I have to work on it. And so when I keep that mindset at the forefront, I'm protective of my time as my most valuable resource, I am much more successful when it comes to my goals. The second mindset that I kind of had to get over, essentially, is that there will always be more to do. The to-do list will never be done. I will never check everything off. I will never feel caught up. I will never feel like I am in a place where I deserve to rest. And that is a personality struggle. I'm an Enneagram type 3 and I always want to be going and achieving and doing, but really the to-do list is never done. And as soon as I accepted that and just let it go, knowing that I still deserve rest at the end of the day, even if there are still things on my to-do list, that made a huge difference in making time for myself and especially a lot of self-care. And then the last mindset shift that's really made a difference for me is the difference between motion and progress. As somebody who's always been go, 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 I've always felt like I needed to have a packed calendar and I needed to be on the move. But now I've started to really look into how I'm spending my time. Am I actually making progress? Is this activity that is taking up my valuable resource something that is literally moving me forward? Even if I'm moving very slowly, as long as I am moving forward, then it's productive versus staying in one place. There's a quote about a rocking chair about confusing motion and progress. I'll pop it up if I can find it. But taking a good look at how you're spending your time and making sure that the things in your calendar are progressing you forward and not just, running in place and being busy just for the sake of being busy. I was very, very guilty of that for a long time. Okay, let's get into some actual tangible tips. So tip number 2 is to work from a calendar, not from a to-do list. If you are like me, you love a good long to-do list, a good brain dump. Let me get out all the things that I know that I need to get done. But when I look at that to-do list and I think I'm gonna get all this done by the end of the day, is that realistic? It might be. If all of those action items on that to-do list are only 5 minutes, I might be able to get all those things done. But those 5 minutes add up really quickly. And so what I've had to learn how to do is to work from my calendar and not my to-do list, and take all of those action items, sometimes even those 5-minute ones, and put them into my schedule and put them into my calendar. Now, I'm not saying to break down every day of your entire life down to the 5 minutes. That is a little bit overboard. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But if you have something on your to-do list that you want to do, schedule a time for it. Move it from your to-do list into your calendar. Additionally, when you're doing that, schedule the important items earlier in the day. I am so guilty of saying, well, here's all the things I'm gonna do today. And when I make a massive to-do list and I work off of a to-do list instead of a calendar, I pick the easy stuff. I pick the fun stuff. I don't necessarily pick the most important stuff. But when I move it from a to-do list to a calendar and I put those important things earlier in the day, then they are way more likely to get done if they're on the calendar for earlier in the day. So schedule those appointments earlier. And when I say appointments, I don't actually just mean appointments. I mean things that you want to work on, and then follow through on those things on your calendar as if it were an appointment. If you scheduled an appointment with a doctor, especially one that's super high in demand, and let's say they didn't have availability for months and you finally got that appointment, when that appointment comes up on your calendar, you're not gonna miss it. You're gonna go to that appointment and you're gonna see that doctor. I want you to treat your goal action items on your calendar the same way you would treat an appointment with a professional. It's an appointment with yourself. It's just as important, if not more important, to stick to those appointments, because those are the things that are going to help you create a life that you love, a life that you've dreamed of. Those goals, those action items to achieve those goals are really going to help you accomplish everything you want to accomplish. And then the last thing under this tip number 2 is don't cancel your goals, reschedule them. So you put all your goal action steps on your calendar and then something pops up, something unexpected. Your child is sick, you need to take your pet to the vet, your significant other needs your help with something, whatever it is, it pops up. Notice how all my examples were like about other people. That's my Enneagram 2 wing on my 3, is that it's always about somebody else if something pops up. It's rarely myself that stops me from getting things done. But if that happens, because it happens, life happens, instead of just saying, well, I guess I'm not gonna do that action step this month or this week or today, and you may not get to it today, move it to another day. This is why I love my Google Cal, because I can just take that action step and I can move it to another day, another week, another month. Don't cancel your goals, reschedule them. All right, tip number 3 is to include buffer time or white space, whatever you wanna call it, include it. Because like we talked about, life happens. And so when we overpack our schedule, we get behind, we feel unaccomplished, and then if you have perfectionist tendencies, like I do, you just give up. And you're like, well, I'm not gonna get anything done on my list today, so I'm just gonna forget all of it. I don't want you to do that. So what I want you to do is overestimate how long things are actually going to take. If you think, oh, I think this might take 30 minutes, schedule an hour. Oh, I think this could maybe take an hour and a half, schedule 2 hours. I want you to overestimate. And then over time, you get better at estimating how long things are going to take, but you are going to be way more successful in accomplishing all the things on your calendar for the day if you overestimate the amount of time that they're going to take. For me, that's just a mental game. I would rather have extra time that I can either rest at the end of the day or pluck something else off of my to-do list, my long running to-do list, not the one for the day. But leaving that extra white space just helps me breathe a little bit. How else do we get more white space on our calendars? We say no. I heard this quote once, that an invitation is not a summons. If someone invites you to something, it does not mean that you have to say yes. And this can be really difficult for some of us to say no to things. And I feel like coming out of the last 18 months, I've gotten really much better at it than I was going into it. Going into it, I would say yes to everything. Sam wants to go to a networking event. Yep, I'll come with you. A friend wants me to go to a work happy hour. Sounds good. Oh, there's a free online webinar from a YouTuber that I like. Yep, sign me up. I used to commit to all of it. But now I'm just very thoughtful. And a real life example for me was actually that YouTube example. A YouTuber that I used to love and watch is doing a free webinar, and before I would have been like, yeah, sign me up, free webinar, okay. And now I'm like, you know what? I would rather have that hour of my time either as buffer, white space, or to do something else that I actually want to do. So practice saying no. I promise it gets easier with time. And when it might feel not great in that moment, but when you have that time later, that feeling that you felt when you said no won't be as important. All right, tip number 4 is to work with your energy levels. And I mean this in a lot of different ways. So the first one is over the course of the day. Are you a morning or are you a night person? We all tend towards one or the other. I know there's that quote about like, I'm not either, I'm an exhausted pigeon. All of us either tend towards somebody who has more energy in the morning or somebody who has more energy at night. Unfortunately, our society does not do a good job of supporting those who have more energy at night. If you're somebody who gets your energy at night and wants to stay up till 2 or 3 working on things, but then you want to sleep till 10, it can be hard if you have a job that you've got to be up and ready for at 9. I understand that that can be difficult, but to the best of your abilities, work with your energy levels. If there's something you want to work on, say you want to read more books, put that habit of reading more books wherever your energy level is. And for me, that happens to be the morning. Maybe for you, it's your lunch break. Maybe it's right after work in the evening. Maybe it's right before bed, like the tail end of your day, and that's when you have the most focus and the most energy. Work with your energy levels over the course of the day. Also, over the course of the week. A lot of us tend to have more energy at the beginning of the week, and then it kind of dips down and then it kind of comes back up. So maybe you schedule some rest and white space on Wednesday evening after work, because you know you have an energy dip on Wednesdays, and you schedule more of your goal focused items on Mondays and Tuesdays when you have more energy. It can take some getting used to figuring out what your energy flows are over the course of the week. But if you are somebody who finds yourself like burning out by Thursday, don't set Thursday you up for failure. Maybe you actually need to do less Monday and Tuesday so that you have energy by Thursday. Try and figure out what your energy cycles are and schedule things associated with that. The other tip that falls into this category, I actually just talked about in last month's quarterly favorites. If you did not catch that video, is creating habits based on your energy level. So this is working for me in so many different areas of life, but setting different tiers of habits. So when I am at my best, my most energetic, my ultimate on top of itself, this is the habit that I'm gonna do. My example is I'm gonna tidy up the entire apartment at the end of the day. That happens very rarely. There are very rare days that I have that much energy at the end of the day that I'm gonna tidy up the whole apartment. So then I have my average habit. This is the average. This is what I probably do 75% of the time, is I just tidy up my office and I make sure my office is in good shape for the next day. And then I have a tier for my low energy days, the days that I just don't wanna do anything. Something went wrong, or it's that time of the month, or whatever I have going on, there are gonna be low energy days. Those days, the goal is just to clean off my desk. Not even wipe it down, just tidy up on the desk. That's the goal. So creating different tiers of your habits to go with your energy levels. Most of your days are gonna be that average. So what's your average self? I think sometimes we struggle and we set habits that are for that high energy self. Well, when I'm at my best self, I'm gonna work out 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week. But we're not our best self every single day, every single week. So what is that average? What is the habit that you can accomplish 75% of the time? And then maybe have an upper level for when you do have those super high energy days or weeks, and then have a lower level for the days that you're like, I don't wanna do anything. Have like the bare bones. I would feel really good if I just did this. And that might be nothing depending on what the habit is, but I recommend looking at habits that you feel like you never accomplish. It's likely because they're all up in this high energy and you're not there every single day. So setting habits based on your energy levels can also make a big difference. And then tip number 5, or section number 5, is distractions and multitasking. Oh man, I used to think that I could multitask everything. I thought that I could listen to a podcast and work on this project and like let my nails dry all at the same time. And some days and some activities, maybe I can, but most of the time, multitasking just makes it take longer. It just compounds the amount of time that it's going to take. The way I found multitasking to work for me, it only works if I am pairing a mindless activity with another activity that doesn't require the same skill set. Really, the only one that works for me is listening to a podcast while I'm also cleaning or walking or cooking. Really, it's something physical with listening to a podcast. That's the only multitasking I've ever really found that works for me. Most other multitasking is more of a detriment to me. And I found that one of the big culprits for me with multitasking was when I would think of another thing I wanted to do, and I would immediately try and go start doing that activity when I hadn't finished the one that I was doing. That might not necessarily be considered multitasking so much as like just pivoting between activities very quickly. But my remedy to that was keeping a notepad next to me at all times. And if I don't have my notepad, I actually just text it to myself. But as soon as I think of something else I want to do, don't go do it in that moment, Laken. Don't go stop whatever you're doing, interrupt that flow to go do another task. It's just going to make all of it take longer than it needs to. Write it down, text it to yourself, and come back to it later. Now let's talk about distractions. Distractions are really, for me, still the biggest time suck. When I get distracted by things, and I guess that's kind of the example I just gave, getting distracted by tasks, but really, most of the time, the culprit is my phone. I get distracted by my phone. So what can I do to help keep my phone from being such a distraction? Well, I could go put it in a different room, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I use an app a lot called Forest, where I like grow a tree and I can't exit out of that app while the tree grows. That one works sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, I don't care if I kill the tree, I wanna check Instagram. Sometimes it's just getting me in a different space. When I'm at home, I'm much more likely to pick up my phone and get distracted by it. Whereas if I pick myself up and go to a coffee shop, I could like leave my phone in my bag for hours. Let me know if you can relate. But somehow, even though there's more happening around me, my distractions are much more limited. Sometimes it's as easy as setting the mood. Like instead of just like sitting down to work on something, light a candle, put on some music, and like get in a zone to work on something. And then once I am in the zone, I'm way less likely to get distracted by my phone. Sometimes when I get distracted, it means I need a break. That's another big one for me. I notice that when I start to get distracted, I'm like, okay, maybe you just need a walk around the block. Maybe you just need to go sit in a different room for 5 minutes and do something else. Sometimes I try to pick up my book when I find this, because my phone will lead me down a rabbit hole that lasts a lot longer than 5 minutes. Sometimes when I'm on top of it, I'll set a timer. I'll be like, okay, you need a break, set a 5-minute timer, go do something else for 5 minutes, and then come back to what you were doing. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect every time and I sit there and ignore my phone. The screen time numbers on my phone are embarrassing most of the time. But a lot of these different little things that I try, most of the time I can get one of them to work. And that allows me to have more time, more focused time. That way I have more free time to focus on my goals or rest or self-care or whatever it is that I need. We are all busy. Everybody has things going on, and it can be overwhelming to also try and accomplish this goal and that goal with everything else that you have committed to. So I want you to keep in mind that you don't have to do all the things. And if you are in a busy season where you do have a lot of things going on, maybe you just pick one goal that you focus on. This is kind of secret bonus tip number 6, is prioritizing your goals and not worrying about trying to accomplish all the goals at the same time. If you are in a busy season of life with work or with kids or whatever it is you have going on, pick one goal and focus on that one goal. Take any extra time that you can find in your calendar, schedule out that one goal, and see the results and the progress on that particular goal that's important to you. All right, I hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you like these kinds of videos where I kind of go on about a topic and give you some tips of things that I've implemented in my life. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Tip number 3, take longer in the long run. That's a weird statement. Blah, blah, blah.